So what is up, guys? You got your boy Jet Stingren here today, and today we are back with some more Reverse 1999 content. And today we're going to be providing you guys with some of the best teams for Kakania. As you guys know, she does release fairly soon, and I really wanted to go about my way and give you guys some fun teams to try. Now, this video I am going to be approaching it a little bit differently because Kakania is pretty much kind of similarly to Six. Six was kind of well known for being the perfect fourth man unit in a team because regardless if you needed another support, regardless if you need another debuffer, whatever have you, he always had a reason to be used. You can use him as a last stop for sub DPSing, you can use him for buffing, you can use him debuffing. You know, he pretty much had that flexibility, and that's kind of the same thing that Kakania brings to the table, is that she's a sustain unit that has reason to be used in just about every specific team you could think of. So even if I do include units that you may not have in your own account, even just getting Kakania on your own is still a really nice pickup for a sustain because of what she does. Anyway, before we get into the video, I have one final announcement. As you guys know, I am currently doing a $100 giveaway, $50 for 2 winners. And if you have not entered the giveaway, the video will be in the comment section below, and all you gotta do is leave your name, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you like the video, and leave a form of contact for me. Either you DM me via Discord, email me, talk to me on Twitter, whatever social media that you can use to get in touch with me. That way, when I do go and get the awards, I can directly message you and say, hey, you got your award. And then we can talk about how we're gonna do it from there. But that's all for this. Let's get right into the teams. Alright, so this is going to be the first team. This is going to be the new player team that you can build, because all of these units that is currently on the screen, you can actually pull for right now. They are currently rated up on a banner at the time of this video recording. So we have Lucy, we have Bicorn, and we have Yensei. So Lucy can of course again be acquired from her own banner, and then we have Bicorn and Yensei, which is currently available in the 2 Fairy banner, which I actually do recommend. That's a pretty great banner for new players because you have access to 2 of the best healers and still a really good debuffer. So you might be a little bit run for resources, because if you're pulling between 3 different banners, it's going to be a little bit tough. But still, if you're able to get a team like this for just a starting account, that's really, really good, because you have a really good debuffer for Lucy, because she's a reality DPS, which of course she appreciates Bicorn's debuff alongside the extra damage taken up effect. The only thing here between Bicorn and Yensei, there's a little bit of clash, because Yensei's debuff is basically the same as Bicorn. It's just that's just really just the only clash there. But of course, if you do happen to get 2 Fairy, then it actually works better for you, because 2 Fairy helps with more critical builds, which is what Lucy is specializing in. She specializes in wanting to do a lot of critical damage because of how you can actually gear her up for it. So if you could walk out with Lucy, Bicorn, and 2 Fairy in your account before pulling Kakania, that is a huge, huge boon. And of course, you have Kakania, which is going to be your 4th unit, which is going to be your sustain for that team. Of course, boosting up Lucy, giving her a massive 300 attack boost. This is with this current setup that I have on mine. And of course, portrays do not boost your stats in any way, shape, or form. Just wanted to throw that out there. But a full level cube at level 60, she would be peaking at almost 2k attack, which is insane. This is of course running critical build, but if you run like an attack focus build, which I don't really recommend, you can easily hit 2k attack, which is kind of bananas. This is only resonance 10, so if I were to take my Lucy at higher resonances, it's very likely that I can hit this just as little small amount that I need to hit that amount. But you're probably wondering, what does Kakania do for the team? Well, Kakania, takes active damage for everyone. So every time somebody gets hit, she takes 50% of that damage, which is of course going to help everybody be relatively healthy. And then of course you have Yensei, who has the ability to heal, but she also has a really good shield. This really good shield really does help provide you some really good sustained defense. 2 Fairy, while she is still a great option, 2 Fairy also provides great healing too, because she can heal, and then she has an ability to heal 10% of lost HP, which also helps. But of course she has the ability to lower critical defense and critical resistance, which of course Lucy likes way more, as opposed to just having 2 conflicting debuffs outside of Bicorn and Yensei. But if you're directly lucky enough to get 2 Fairy, Lucy, and Bicorn all in your account at once, you gotta crack the new player team, honestly. And then you can try to grow off your love for Kakania. you got a team that can really easily, and I do mean easily, take you to the end game without you really having to so much as worry. The only thing you were really going to need to do is build up a second team for things like Limbo. That's really just it. That's really just it. But a team like that is really going to carry you through story once you get everyone leveled up. And yeah, this team doesn't really have any flaws, no errors, or anything like that. So, but that is going to be the first team, just kind of a new player starting team that you can actively run with Kakania. So that's that. Now, this is going to be a team that I recommend for patch 2.0 when it does release, but I really wanted to include it because Kakania is going to be a vital piece to this team, and this is going to be the counter team, basically known as Heroes Never Die. Now, the big reason why I call it this type of team is because it centers around Joe and Semmelweis' direct synergy with one another, because they are two units who like being at low HP for their respective damage bonuses. And the cool thing about this is that if you run Kakania, obviously that's going to be a great cushion. This also allows Semmelweis to have a much more safer playstyle and having lower HP, alongside Joe, who also wants the very same thing. The cool thing about this is, while you can particularly do this team right now with someone like Babel, Babel can technically make this team work. Technically speaking, Babel can make this team work. It's kind of the same idea because Babel does have access to a counter, but the problem is that unlike Babel, Joe can counter pretty much every single time, and he can counter based on the number of allies that's hit. So if you're running a full 4-man team, then guess what? That's 4 counters. You run him in a 3-man team, that's 3 counters, which is a great way to accelerate damage, which is going to make it very easy to use in a lot of the content coming up if you just want to run like a fun little tank heavy team. And of course, Joe himself does provide shields, which also acts as a secondary cushion. The same thing with Babel, who also provides shields as well. So it's a really fun option for you to really just kind of utilize a good effect of damage. So the ideal core would be Joe, Semmelweis, and Necro. These 3 are kind of non-negotiable, honestly. I thought about some potential replacements. Necro is really important, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But the whole core is just let Joe kind of be the DPS and just continuously counter enemies. Remember, whenever Joe counters, it's effectively an AoE counter. So it's a good way to really get through a lot of the content, so long as you're just letting something get hit. Because remember, anybody gets hit, that's a counter, which is good. And of course, Joe has great access to a really good shield. He again loves the synergy with Semmelweis. But we're gonna talk about why Necro's a non-functioning option either. Like I can't replace no one other than Necro here. And the reason why is because Necro, I almost said Netro, what am I saying? But anyway, Necro is here because she provides a 50% damage dealt up effect to the team, which of course is going to be great for both Semmel and Joe, because Semmel of course is effectively a sub DPS on her own, and of course Joe is going to be leaning towards main DPS territory if we're making full abusing of his counter. But the real big reason that we have her here is for her prayer effect. If you guys don't know, prayer is a special effect that only she has, and what it does is basically it prevents you from dying. This is a really good way for you to not directly need a healer, because all you would really need to do with Necro is just keep having her buff ready whenever Joe or Semmel or whenever somebody kicks the dust. That way, when you are able to, you pop her ultimate, and then boom, they're right back in, and they're basically right back with the prayer stat. The only problem is if such a situation happens where Necro does die, which admittedly could be somewhat common because of her low reality defense, then she cannot reapply prayer to herself, but she can reapply it to her teammates. So I can re-put this on Kakania, I can re-put this on Semmel, I can re-put this on Joe, I can re-put this on Babel. You know, I can redo this and continuously do it until the content's cleared. So that's why I kind of love the whole synergy between these units together. So long as you can really get up good uses of her ultimate, you can get some pretty decent heals in. And then with Joe's shields are actually fairly bulky, and remember, he can do it pretty consistently. So long as you're not taking a huge lot of damage to the point to where Kakania can't handle it, then you should just be fine. The whole core is you want to make sure that you want to be able to get everyone's stuff up. The only problem that this team does have is that it's relatively It's XP. It's XP expensive because you want to have her prayer up as much as you can, which means you want to have it on the ready side. You want to have her array field up, which is again going to mean you're going to have to get a lot of moxie. A lot of moxie. Kakania is relatively fine so long as you just keep buffing up Joe, and then of course you're going to need Joe to cast his counter pretty much every his shield and make sure he can get up his effects every single turn. So that's kind of the only thing I can really say about this team. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Alright, so this is going to be another team, and this is going to be letting Semmel be the DPS. I did talk about this a little bit earlier. One of the things I didn't really like too much about Semmelweis is that her HP, her whole you got to be at low HP thing is something I wasn't really the biggest fan for. So I decided to kind of make this team now with Kakania, who actually does help the playstyle be a little bit more safe. The really good thing about running Kakania here for Semmel is that it allows her to be at low HP without effectively taking too much lost HP without it being too much of a concern. And with the combination of both Semmelweis' array field and Anali's buff, you can really get yourself a lot of damage taken reduction effect. For example, you have the 20% coming off of her array field that is going to be active whenever she has her ult up. But Anali with her buff can give you yet another 30% taken effect. So you have a little bit of mitigation. You have a little bit of mitigation here. You have a little bit of mitigation here. You're kind of making yourself be, a little bit more bulkier this way, which means it makes it a little bit harder for you to die. Of course, I have Vila here. I think Vila is probably the best healer you can pair up Semmel with. You could technically go 2 Fairy as well, but I do think, because I do like giving her the modifier buff for her attacks to make it hit a little bit harder, and of course the crit rate, critical damage boost. This of course is going to be the one you want to run with the critical build for. You could maybe just go basically attack if you don't want to rely on crits missing, but at the end of the day, I do think that this is going to be a really solid team, because of course you have Kakania, who is going to give her that flat attack, which of course puts her basically at 2k, like it is going to be for most units, especially with the crit build. If you run the attack build, it actually puts her at 2k attack, which is actually really strong. And then you have Anali, of course, for her respective buffs. Of course, you have some crowd control, which probably won't come up too often, but it's there. And of course, you have Vila when you do need to heal. And then, of course, you have her for buff, also for Moxie acceleration, which is also a very important thing as well. Another unit you can use over Anali is Ezra. Ezra does help because he does provide shields, and he also provides the crit damage buff, which of course stacks on top of Vila's buff. That's another considerable option. I would have maybe said like the Lorelei maybe would be a good option too, because she does the same thing. But really what I was looking for in teammates here is someone who can provide a form of sustain, or like a defensive effect while also improving offense. So of course Anali does provide the damage dealt up effect, and of course damage taken reduction. Vila can also provide sturdiness with her heals, which is also very important. And of course you have Kakania, who's going to be absorbing damage. So that's kind of the core concept for this team. It's just a symbolized DPS team. So there's that. Now, this is going to be the last team that I recommended. This is going to be a bit of a spicy one. This is going to be a full healer team. Now, I want to give 100% full credit to Devil Bull for this idea. If you guys don't know, they are a CN content creator for the game. And basically the whole core concept of this team is to just use your healers to give Kakania as much empathy as she can possibly hold, and then just fire off strong ultimates, kind of making Kakania kind of like the DPS of this team, or just gradually whittling down enemies with that reflected damage. Remember, the bigger the empathy that Kakania has, that more reflected Genesis damages that the enemies can take. So what this is going to do is basically, while you're basically in a situation where you can never really die, you're going to be in a situation where you just continuously let the enemy whittle down bit by bit by bit by bit because of Kakania's total empathy. And if you even go higher on her portrays, that effect is obviously going to be stronger because she has a higher hold limit on higher portrays. So this only makes this more stronger. If you were to go higher, like I see some people saying they're going to go P3, that effectively can make Kakania turn herself into a carry in this way, because you have 3 units who can quickly accelerate that empathy, total empathy amount, and then you just have her fire off a ridiculously strong ultimate, because her ultimate is based off of her total empathy stat times I think 1300 of Genesis damage, which gives you some pretty funky numbers, especially if you know how to build it up. So it's a really, really good effect, and you can really get some dumb, nutty stuff here. So let's go over to teammates. Of course, we have 2 Fairy. 2 Fairy is going to be just a good healer that you can take. Just again, relatively strong healing, and then that's just that. I mean, she can be replaced with just about everyone. Whatever healers you have, you can run for your three. Like even if you have like Bloom Party, you can even use her, even DK for that matter. So long as they can heal, they work here. I just picked the three best that I had. So, but yeah. Also giving critical rate down, I guess, is fine, which really doesn't really matter because the bulk of your damage comes from Genesis, and Kakania, to my knowledge, cannot crit Genesis damage, so not really needed, but you know, it's there. It can help with cleansing. I mean, that's definitely a thing. All right, Medicine Pocket. Medicine Pocket is a great healer here because Medicine Pocket gives a stack of sturdiness on a 1-star cast on everyone. So they are really, really, really good here because they are allowed to do that to also provide a good form of sustain for the team. And of course, they do have a debuff that can put damage taken up effect, which is actually not that bad. And it works out fairly fine from there. They do have a disruption ult where it can inflict daze and then give them Moxie +1, which is not bad. I mean, it's definitely an option for some damage, and again, it inflicts daze, which is a good form to have some crowd control in there. So definitely not a bad option. And of course, you have Vila as well, who is going to be the most strongest healer you can take because remember, Vila actively heals no matter what. So, well, when she's in her unique status anyway, when she's in her unique status, she heals no matter what. Even if you just cast your own heal, she of course has the follow up heal, or if you don't take any actions with Vila, she then heals the entire party because of inheritance effects. And of course she of course has her own heal, which of course also grants a stack of sturdiness too, which of course can lead to situations where you can potentially double stack sturdiness on a particular someone, which is pretty good. And of course you have her ultimate, which can also cleanse ultimates as well. So obviously if two fairy can't cleanse, then Vila 100% will be able to cleanse. Kakania doesn't really need the effect of damage here because the problem here with Vila's buff is that it's specifically for skills, right? As you can see when casting a rank 1, 2, 3 incantation for the respective bonuses, well, the big bulk of the damage, while you yes can use her skill card for attacking, which does help for obviously for the boost and bonus, the big problem with this is her ultimate is going to be the big damage that you want. So you're not going to really be able to really get full utilization of that because the ultimate does not count as a skill 1, 2, or 3 cast of a card. It just counts as its own respective ultimate. So you won't really get like a modifier buff from it, but that's still relatively fine. It's still really good. And yeah, but that's going to be it, guys. Those are the teams I recommend for Kakania. Let me know if you guys have some fun ideas. Let me know in the comment section below. As always, well, the giveaway is still ongoing. If you want to enter, please check out that video and leave the instructions below. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.